Before we get started, I want to remind everyone that the information in this presentation is not to be or construed as investment advice. The information presented are subject to change without notice, and while we have made every reasonable effort to ensure that the content is reliable and accurate, we have not independently verified the content and are not responsible for errors therein. Please consult a professional advisor before putting a loonie in any of these financial markets. Hi everyone, my name is Richard Diaz and welcome back to the IceCap Canadian Market Wrap. In this week's video, we're going to discuss the latest labor force survey data. We're going to talk about employment, wages, and why the falling unemployment rate hides a more sinister message. We have long argued that Canada has been in a recession. Not a technical one, of course. Mass immigration has made sure that the headline number was ticking along nicely, but on a per capita basis, due to what the BOC called a productivity emergency, we know that GDP growth has in effect stalled. Now that population growth has also stalled, the issues of declining capital investment, high debts, and a soft real estate market have come home to roost. This is exacerbated by U.S. protectionism, but make no mistake, these trends were well entrenched before the average U.S. tariff on Canadian goods went from 0% to 6%. So what was the headline? In January, total Canadian employment contracted by 25,000 jobs. As you can see from the dotted red line, the trend in total job growth is one of steady decline. At this point, I need to highlight a mistake that I've made. Given my view on Canada's recession, I said that the beginning of the year would likely see the peak in employment, and I was wrong about that. I was also wrong about my expectations for falling unemployment, which indeed fell to 6.5% in January, commensurate with only 1.46 million people being unemployed. In episode 70, I mentioned that the steeper yield curve, the 10-year government bond yield minus the 2-year government bond yield in red, was suggesting that economic conditions were deteriorating and that the unemployment rate would likely rise to reflect this. Quickly, as a refresher, the relationship between the yield curve and the unemployment rate is because the yield curve embeds expectations about the future of economic growth, monetary policy, and financial conditions, all of which drive hiring decisions. In any event, the opposite has happened. So why? To properly explain this, I present to you the formula for the unemployment rate, and that is the number of people unemployed divided by the labor force. The numerator is pretty clear. Unemployed is not working. But what is the denominator? And to answer that, I lean on this labor market tree. This tree splits out the working age population into different groups. On the left, the labor force. This includes those working and those that are unemployed, but critically are looking for work. And on the right, those that are not in the labor force, either because they're retired or permanently unable to work due to health reasons, or where I want to focus, those not looking for work for other reasons. This can be due to childcare or education, but I highlight this because it includes those that are discouraged. In economics, discouraged workers are individuals who want to work but have stopped searching due to a belief that no jobs are available for them due to poor economic conditions or a mismatch in skill set. With this in mind, I present to you the following chart. This is the monthly change in the labor force. As you can see, the huge drop of nearly 120,000 is quite incredible. This is, I think, the largest drop ever outside of COVID, of course. Now, this means that many people in Canada have become discouraged, to use the economic parlance. This number dwarfs the fall in the unemployed and explains why there's a drop in the unemployment rate. The upshot is that the economy is weak and there's not enough jobs for the people who want them. We see this underlying economic weakness in a different way here with the rise in the inactive population. The blue line is for prime-aged workers, aged from 25 to 54. And you can see that this number is steadily rising and is at a near 10-year high. And one of the more tragic data series I have in my entire Canadian chart pack is youth inactivity in red. Young Canadians have seen their labor market swamped by the mass importation of low-skilled, low-wage laborers, and there's not enough jobs to absorb this new supply. Indeed, they're now giving up looking. Switching gears, we'll touch on a lesser known, but arguably more important labor market indicator, and that is the participation rate. This rate is the percentage of the working age population that are in the labor force. I like this indicator as it allows to draw some interesting conclusions on demographics and provides a different insight on the health of an economy. Again, it's not good news. The participation rate, in red, fell in January and now sits at a 25% 5-year low. However, very importantly, this series includes and is distorted by an aging demographic, older people who naturally retire. So to get a better feel, we zoom in on the prime age participation. And here you can see it has fallen in red, but is still pretty high historically, despite its recent downward trend. Something that is not so good is the low total employment rate in blue. This is a pure play indicator on the economy, and it shows a shrinking number of taxpayers ultimately. This is something Canada is eventually going to have to reckon with. Finally, to bring it home, we'll quickly look at sector employment growth over the month, public versus private, and wage growth data. The standout positive was the jump in information and business services. At the top of the list, you can see that there was also some improvements in construction and agriculture. Unfortunately, at the bottom of the list is manufacturing employment, which fell by 28,000 people. A quick word on manufacturing, which is it's clearly being affected by tariffs, but that sector has been in recession since roughly 2023. The headlines are obviously bad, but as you can see historically, there's more to it. This is a topic we've addressed before, and we will have to again soon. Next, we see that the public sector is again growing, despite the fact that we are at 30-year highs as a share of total employment, and that the political rhetoric has promised to slash it. Anyway, public sector employment grew by 13,000 in January. For those keeping score at home, this means that over the last 13 months, the public sector is 55% of total employment growth. This is not good. This is also above the previous 5-year run rate of about 40%. The public sector continues to consume Canada, and we have to do something about it if we're going to address the most important thing, which is productivity growth. Next, we update you on a weird divergence in the year-on-year growth numbers from the labor force survey and the survey of employment payrolls and hours. The latter is the more reliable, albeit less timely, of the two employment statistics. For a while now, we have expected for it to normalize. And in January, it took a step closer to that reality. Another data point that was included in the release, and of which I am guilty of not spending any time on, is wage growth. This chart shows that wage growth has actually been okay over the last little while, at roughly 3.5% or 4%. But in my view, this number is deeply skewed by the massive outsized contribution of the public sector, which is unionized and get automatic wage growth every single year. Unfortunately, what matters is real wage growth, and inflation has crept up and has whittled away at the purchasing power of these increases. The bottom line is that the era of easy credit and mass immigration is over for Canada, and our economy's growth will be dependent on productivity growth. As I've mentioned before, this will likely get worse before it gets better. There needs to be a wholesale change in the philosophy found in Ottawa, and a singular focus on private capex in order to improve this productivity growth. Until then, GDP growth will be weak and Canada will be sensitive to external shocks. And that means Canada's employment will continue to be sluggish. And this means we should expect a lot more Januaries in the new year. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. That's a wrap on this week's episode. Please like, subscribe, and follow for more. And as always, we manage money for families all across Canada and the world. So please feel free to get in touch.